Tom Hauser here with another midweek blessing. Hey, this week's GP praise is just a very simple one. It's that all the members would look out for each other's interests. That all the members would look out for each other's interests. This is a very countercultural prayer request. This is a very upside down way to pray. We have been born and raised in this country, and as human beings for that matter, to be self-interested, to be on the lookout for our own good, not the good of other people. To assume that whatever time and talent and money and ability that God has given us is for us, for our use and for our pleasure, not for the person next to us. And so this week's prayer is that the entirety of the Grace Point family, or whatever local church you go to, that each person in that church family would look out for the interests of the people around them, how they can serve the people around them, how they can give to the people around them. So as you pray this week, I would just encourage you to ask the Lord to bring to your mind ways that you can make this prayer come true. It's good to pray this on behalf of the church family, but it's also good to pray this on your own behalf. How can you take the time and the abilities and the money and the experience that you have and use it for the best interest of your church family? And there are 1,000 ways to do this. Maybe there's a family in your church whose teenager could really use another adult voice to just sit and listen, or just go hang out with them and spend time with them. Maybe there's a friend of yours who you know would really benefit from that Bible study you're a part of, and you can invite them to join you in that Bible study. We've got VBS coming up. We need 100 people to help pull this off. 100 people to come together for the sake of the kids in our church and in our neighborhood. Maybe you could spend your time on that. There are a million things that our church needs on any given week. Maybe it's time for you to volunteer to see what you can do for your church on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night or whatever. Maybe this would be a good time for you to consider that some of the money that God has given you, maybe it's not all for you. Maybe it is for other people in your midst, including your church family, or that person down the road who is having a hard time financially. To assume that your time and your talent and your treasure is not your own, but for the good of your church family. This is a way to pray this week. It comes from this passage in Philippians chapter 2, where Paul describes what our attitude should be towards one another. He says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out for only your own interests, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Jesus Christ had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. Let me give you a couple other examples that might make sense even on a Sunday morning as you consider church. First of all, whether or not you go to church. Perhaps you could go to church not for your own benefit, because you think you're going to like the sermon, or you might like the songs that day, or you're hoping to get the seat that you want to sit in, but for the benefit of other people, to think in your mind that you going to church that day could be an encouragement to someone else, that you singing loudly in part of the congregation would be an encouragement to the worship team, that you could meet a new person that's their first time at church. You could introduce yourself and let them know this is a friendly church of people who care about them. As you walk in the front sidewalk, you could be praying to the Lord, show me who to say hi to, who to sit next to. Well, how do you want me to serve this church family today? There are so many ways that we could look out for the interests of one another. This week's GP Praise is a really important one for each of us. I hope it's a blessing to you as you pray this prayer this week, and I hope you will pray it not only on behalf of your church family, but on your behalf, and that he would show you how you can look out for the interests of other people in your church. Until next time, peace, friends.